The shotgun blast echoed through the cornfields like thunder cracking the sky open. But it was my father's voice that shattered me first. "You think you're one of them now? After everything we've given you?" His words hung heavier than the acrid smoke curling from the barrel. He clutched like a lifeline. And not at me, but at the ground between us, close enough to make the gravel jump. I stood there in the driveway of our crumbling farmhouse in rural Ohio, my little brother Eli trembling behind me, his small hand fisted in the back of my jacket. And in that split second, I knew I'd burn it all down before I'd let him face the fire alone. It started with a whisper in the high school locker room. The kind that spreads like wildfire in a town where everyone knows your daddy's truck by the dents in the fender. Eli was 14, all gangly limbs and wide blue eyes that mirrored Mom's before the cancer hollowed her out. He wasn't like the other boys, not rough enough for football, not cocky enough for the track team. He sketched in the margins of his notebooks delicate lines of boys holding hands under street lamps. And one day, Jake Harlan, the quarterback with a mean streak wider than the Scioto River, found one crumpled in the trash. "Faggot," Jake spat, holding it up like evidence in a witch trial, and the laughter that followed was the first crack in our world. I was 24, working double shifts at the auto shop in Millersburg, grease under my nails and dreams buried deeper than the transmission I'd just rebuilt. Coming out? That was for city boys in San Francisco. Not for Owen Hargrove, the son who fixed the tractor and mowed the back 40 without complaint. I'd known since I was Eli's age, stealing glances at the farmhand next door, his sun-kissed arms flexing as he baled hay. But Dad's Bible thumped louder than any heartbeat, and Mom's ghost whispered forgiveness only if we stayed straight and narrow. So I swallowed it, chased it with cheap beer at the VFW hall, and dated Sarah from the diner just to keep the questions at bay. Eli didn't have that armor yet. He came home that afternoon with a split lip and bruises blooming like storm clouds on his ribs. Curled on the porch swing, he didn't cry, just stared at the horizon where the fields met the fading sun. "They said I'm going to hell," he murmured, voice cracking like dry earth. "Because of the drawing. Because I like Tommy from art class. Really like him." My gut twisted. A knife I'd felt coming since puberty. Tommy was the quiet kid with the sketchbook full of cityscapes, the one who blushed when Eli shared his pencils. Innocent stuff. But in Millersburg, innocence was a luxury for straight white boys. I pulled him into a hug, his bony frame shaking against my chest. "Hey, kiddo. Hell's for liars, not for loving who you love. We'll fix this." But fixing it meant facing it. That night, as thunder rumbled in from the west, Jake and two of his buddies showed up at the edge of our property. They were drunk on stolen whiskey, baseball bats slung over shoulders like promises of pain. Dad was inside, nursing a Pabst and yelling at the TV about some politician ruining the country. Eli spotted them first from his bedroom window, his gasp pulling me from the kitchen table where I'd been nursing my own regrets. "Stay here," I told him, grabbing Dad's old Remington from the gun cabinet. Heart pounding like a V8 engine redlining, I stepped onto the porch, the screen door slamming behind me like a guillotine. The boys froze at the sight of the shotgun, but Jake sneered, stepping forward with that all-American grin twisted ugly. "Heard your brother's a queer, Hargrove. Figured we'd teach him what happens when you don't man up." The word hung there. Electric. Quit. It was me they were hunting, even if they didn't know it yet. Eli's shadow flickered in the window behind me, and something primal snapped. I racked the slide, the metallic click slicing the night. "Get off my land," I growled, voice steady despite the bile rising in my throat. "Or I'll make sure you limp home to mommy with stories about the devil you poked." They laughed at first, 3 against 1. Bats gleaming under the porch light. But Jake's eyes narrowed, calculating. "You defending a fairy? What's your deal? Owen? You sweet on him too." The taunt landed like a sucker punch, and in the silence that followed, thunder rolled closer. I could have lied. Pumped the gun and chased them off with threats and bluster, the way Dad would. But Eli's face, pale and pleading through the glass, burned into me. No more hiding. No more letting fear carve us hollow. "Yeah," I said, the word tasting like freedom and ash. "I'm gay. And if you touch my brother, I'll bury you so deep the crows won't find the bones." The admission echoed louder than the storm breaking overhead. Jake's bat slipped from his fingers, clattering to the dirt. His buddies shifted, unease rippling like the rain starting to sheet down. "You're lying," Jake muttered, but his voice wavered, the bravado draining faster than the color from his face. "Try me." I leveled the barrel, rain slicking my hair, plastering my shirt to my skin. They backed away, muttering slurs that dissolved into the downpour, vanishing into the night like ghosts. I stood there until the adrenaline crashed, until Eli's arms wrapped around me from behind, sobbing into my back. "You didn't have to." "What did you do?" What had I done? Unlocked a cage I'd bolted shut years ago. We stumbled inside, dripping on the linoleum, and I held him until the sobs quieted. Dad was passed out in his recliner, oblivious, the TV flickering blue light over his snoring form. In the room we used to share before I moved to the attic, Eli wiped his eyes. "Thanks. But they're gonna know now." "Everyone. Let 'em." I ruffled his damp hair, forcing a grin. "We're Hargroves. We've been. But we don't break." That lie tasted sweetest in the dark. Morning came sticky and unforgiving, the kind of Ohio dawn where the humidity clings like regret. I was under the hood of Mrs. Keller's Chevy when the whispers hit the shop like exhaust fumes. Owen Hargrove? The queer. Buddy Klein, my boss and Dad's poker buddy, slammed a wrench down harder than necessary. "Heard you went full rainbow last night." "Jake Harlan's daddy called the sheriff, said you threatened M with a firearm." My hands stilled on the carburetor, oil-smeared fingers trembling. "It was self-defense." "But they came at Eli with bats." He snorted, wiping his rag across his mustache. "Self-defense for what? Playing house with your brother?" "Your family. But this ain't right. Folks are talking boycott. I can't have that kind of heat." By noon, my toolbox was packed, last paycheck burning a hole in my pocket. The drive home was a blur of cornstalks blurring past the windshield, radio crackling with static and some country crooners singing about lost love. I was at school, facing the fallout alone, and guilt gnawed at me like rust on an old manifold. Dad was waiting on the porch, shotgun across his lap, not loaded, but the threat was in his eyes, red-rimmed and furious. Pastor Reynolds called. "Said you confessed to that sin." In front of witnesses. His voice cracked on the last word. The Bible opened to Leviticus on the swing beside him. I killed the engine, stepping out into the heat that pressed down like judgment. It's not a sin. It's who I am. And Eli, he's the same. I came out so they'd leave him alone. Not to hurt you. He surged to his feet, the chair scraping back like a snarl. Hurt me? You think this don't tear a man apart? Your mother, God rest her, raised you boys to be strong. Not this abomination. Spittle flew, his face purpling, veins bulging like rivers about to flood. The shotgun stayed in his grip, a barrier between us. I swallowed the lump in my throat, tasting blood from where I'd bitten my cheek. Mom loved us no matter what. Remember her stories about Uncle Ray? How he left for the city and never came back. She said he was chasing his truth. That's all I'm doing, for me. For Eli. Uncle Ray was a drunk and a disgrace, Dad roared, hurling the Bible at my feet. It landed open, pages fluttering like wounded birds. You think you can parade this filth under my roof? Pack your shit. You're done here. The words landed like buckshot, each one embedding deeper. I glanced at the house, Mom's quilt still on the line, Eli's bike chained to the railing, and felt the foundation crumble. Eli stays with me? If they come for him again. He's my blood, Dad snapped. But his eyes darted away, shame flickering. We'll pray for him. Straighten him out. You go find your kind. I wanted to fight, to grab him by the collar and shake sense into the man who'd taught me to throw a curveball and skin a deer. But the defeat in his slump, the way his hands shook on the stock, stopped me. This was a war he'd already lost, long before I pulled the trigger on my secret. Tell Eli I love him, and that he's brave, braver than me. Turned away, shoulders heaving, and I climbed the stairs to the attic, stuffing my duffel with jeans, the futies, and the photo of Mom holding us as toddlers. The door clicked shut behind me like a coffin lid, and as I fired up the truck, gravel spitting under the tires, the farmhouse shrank in the rear view, a monument to everything I'd torched in one reckless night. The highway stretched east like a vein pulsing toward the heart of America. But my heart was a hollowed-out engine, sputtering on fumes. Cleveland was the plan, bigger city, anonymous streets, maybe a job at a garage that didn't care about your bedroom preferences. Eli's text buzzed in, Dad's yelling. School sucks. Miss you already. I pulled over at a rest stop, thumbs flying. Hang tough, buddy. Call me anytime. You're not alone, but I was. The miles blurred into a montage of regrets, Sarah's voicemail. Voice tight with pity, I get it. But this changes things. The VFW barring me without a word. My name scratched off the roster like a curse. By dusk, the skyline loomed, steel and glass mocking the simplicity I'd left behind. I crashed at a motel off I-71. The kind with vibrating beds and stains you don't ask about, staring at the water-stained ceiling until dawn. First week was survival mode, temp gigs unloading trucks at the docks, sleeping in the truck cab when cash ran low. Then luck, or fate, knocked in the form of Luca Moretti, a tattooed mechanic with a Brooklyn accent and eyes like smoked whiskey. He owned a chop shop in the flats, the industrial underbelly where the Cuyahoga River still smelled of old fires. You Hargrove? Heard about your Situation from a buddy in Millersburg. Need hands? I don't give a fuck who you sleep with. Long as you torque that wrench right. I nodded. Throat tight. And dove in. Luca was 30. Built like a welterweight with ink sleeves telling stories of lost loves and street fights. He was out and proud. Rainbow flag in his shop window defying the Rust Belt blues. Over late-night burgers at Swenson's, grease dripping onto wax paper, he pried open my shell. Coming out to shield the kid? The balls. Hero shit. Got me fired. And exiled, I muttered. Chasing fries with a Coke. Hero's just another word for fool. He leaned in. Calloused hand brushing mine. A spark that jolted like a shorted wire. Fool's the guy who stays silent till it eats him alive. You're alive? Owen. That's the win. That touch lingered, warming the cold I'd carried from Ohio. Luca invited me to crash on his couch in a walk-up above the shop. Walls plastered with band posters and Polaroids of him grinning with exes, men with easy smiles and no baggage. We fell into rhythm, mornings wrenching engines, evenings cracking beers on the fire escape, city lights twinkling like distant stars. He shared stories of his Italian immigrant folks disowning him at 17, how he rebuilt in Cleveland's queer underground, drag shows at the Velvet Rope, pride parades that turned the streets into rivers of color. One night, after a shift that ran till midnight, rain hammering the tin roof, he caught me sketching in the margins of an invoice pad, rough lines of a man's profile, jaw set like Lucas. Artist. Like your brother? His voice was soft. No judgment. Flushed. Crumpling the paper. Just doodling. Eli's the talent. Luca unfolded it, tracing the lines with his thumb. This is good. Real. Then. Quieter. You see me like that? The air thickened. Church. I met his gaze. The whiskey in his eyes pulling me under. Every damn day. He closed the distance. Lips brushing mine tentative. Then fierce, like he'd been waiting as long as I had. It was messy, hungry, tasting of motor oil and possibility. We tumbled to the couch, hands exploring scars and secrets, the city symphony outside fading to our ragged breaths. In his arms, I wasn't the outcast anymore. I was wanted. Weeks blurred into months. A fragile normalcy. Eli visited once. Amtrak ticket a birthday gift from his part-time gig at the library. He arrived wide-eyed at Penn Station. Wait. Cleveland's Greyhound Depot, backpack slung over one shoulder. Braces glinting in a shy smile. Dad doesn't know. Said I was staying with Aunt Clara. We hugged fierce in the terminal. His frame filling out. Voice dropping an octave. Luca grilled burgers on the fire escape, regaling Eli with tales of drag queens who'd arm wrestle linebackers. By night's end, Eli was laughing, sketching Luca's tattoos with rapt focus. You're cool, Owen. For a big brother. Learned from the best, I said, ruffling his hair. But as the bus pulled away the next dawn, his wave lingering in the window, doubt crept in. Dad's silence was a wall. Texts unanswered. Was protecting Eli just delaying the inevitable? Then the storm hit, courtesy of betrayal's sharp edge. Lucas X. Marco, a silver-tongued promoter with gelled hair and a grudge, slithered back into town. Sniffing opportunity. I'd met him once. At a bar crawl. His charm laced with venom. Luca's type, strays he can fix, he'd purred, eyeing my flannel like it was camouflage. I ignored it. Buried in work and Eli's updates, Tommy and he were talking, school whispers fading. But Marco had hooks in deep. One night, post-shift, I found Luca on the fire escape, phone in hand, voice low. Yeah, I know it's been rough. But Owen, he's not you. But he's real. The words twisted. But it was the laugh, Marcos. Tinny through the speaker, that ignited the fuse. I stepped out. Rain slicked from a quick smoke. Everything good? Luca startled. Ending the call. Yeah. But old shit. Trust is a fragile gasket. One leak, and the whole thing blows. Days later, I overheard the full poison, Marco spinning yarns to mutuals about my redneck baggage, how I was clinging to Luca out of desperation. He'd tipped off a local rag, a fluff piece on Rust Belt romances that twisted into tabloid fodder, outing Eli by proxy. Amish country come out, brothers in arms? The byline gloated. Photo of our farmhouse blurred in the background. Rage boiled over that night at the shop. Luca was late, reeking of cologne not his. Marco's gig, he admitted, avoiding my eyes. Networking. For us, better clients. Maybe a chain in Columbus. Us. Wrench clattering from my grip. Or you and your glory days. He called me a stray. Luca. Said I'm holding you back. His jaw tightened. Defensiveness flaring. He's full of shit. But Owen, come on, this world's small. A little grease to keep wheels turning. Grease? Or knives in the back? The accusation hung. And in the hurt flashing across his face, I saw the truth. He'd chosen ambition over the mess I'd brought. The Ohio exile with a shotgun passed. We fought like pistons locking, words flying about loyalty, about how love shouldn't feel like a pit stop. He grabbed my arm, pull turning to push, and I shoved back, toolbox crashing in a symphony of betrayal. If I'm such a drag, cut the line, I snarled, storming out into the night, duffel slung over my shoulder once more. The door slammed on us, echo mocking the one back home. The streets of Cleveland swallowed me whole that night, a concrete maw indifferent to the ache gnawing my ribs. I wandered the flats, river wind whipping off the water like accusations, neon signs from dive bars blurring into halos of regret. Luca's text lit my phone, come back. We can fix this. But fixing meant forgiving the fracture, and I was too raw, too Ohio stubborn to bend again. I holed up in a flophouse off Superior Avenue, the kind where roaches hosted rent parties and dreams went to die. Sleep came fitful, haunted by Eli's face, braver than mine, yet tethered to the same sinking ship. Dawn brought clarity, bitter as black coffee from a corner bodega. I needed distance, a reset button on this heartbreak carousel. Pittsburgh was close enough for a bus ticket, far enough to breathe. The Greyhound hummed west along a 76, passing steel mills rusting like forgotten promises, and I scrolled Eli's Insta, him and Tommy at the county fair. Cotton candy grins under Ferris wheel lights. Proud of you, I messaged, thumb hovering before hitting send. His reply pinged instant. Where are you? Dad's on a bender. Miss you. Guilt surged, a tide pulling me under. I'd come out to shield him, but all I'd done was ripple the poison back. Dad's calls went to voicemail. Voicemails deleted unheard. The farm was a black hole now, sucking in what was left of us. In Pittsburgh, I crashed with a cousin twice removed, a welder named Frankie who owed Mom a favor from way back. His row house in Bloomfield smelled of garlic and motor oil, a slice of Italian-American grit that felt like home without the barbs. Frankie didn't pry, just handed me a beer and a socket set for his garage side hustle. Heard the buzz? 'Cause small towns talk big. You need a couch? It's yours. Days bled into weeks, wrenching on Fords and Chevys. Evenings at Primanti Brothers. Stuffing sandwiches with fries and coleslaw. The city's bridges arching like veins over the Allegheny. Pittsburgh's queer scene simmered underground, coffee shops in Shadyside with rainbow mugs, a bar called 11th Hour where drag queens lip-synced Gaga with lip-syncs that could shatter glass. It was there, nursing a Jack and Coke in a corner booth, that I met Reese. He slid onto the stool beside me, all lean muscle and faded band tee, copper hair tousled like he just rolled out of a mosh pit. First time? You look like you're hiding from the world. I glanced up, caught by green eyes sharp as emeralds in the dim light. Something like that. Owen. Reese. His handshake was firm. Calluses from guitar strings rough against my palm. Musician. Barely. Play bass in a garage band called Iron Vein. You. Mechanic. Barely. Fix what's broken for a living. The irony hung. But he laughed, a sound like gravel under tires. Warm and unforced. We talked till last call. Words spilling like oil from a cracked pan. His folks in the Hill District. Old steelworker stock who'd embraced his coming out with backyard barbecues. My exile. The shotgun night. Luca's knife twist. Reese listened without pity, just nodded like he got the weight. Betrayal's the worst cut. Like tuning a string too tight, snaps when you least expect. By closing, he walked me to the bus stop, rain misting the street lamps. Give me your number. Pittsburgh ain't Cleveland, but it's got heart. And I could use a roadie who knows his amps from his axles. And the texts started tentative, memes about bad exes, invites to open mics at quiet cafes. Reese was sunlight after storm clouds, easy affection, no baggage dragging us down. Our first date was low-key, PNC Park, Pirates game under the stars, hot dogs and Hell's Yes when they actually scored. He stole a kiss in the 7th inning stretch, sweet and unhurried, tasting of mustard and promise. Your trouble? Owen Hargrove, he murmured against my lips. The good kind. Falling for him was like easing into warm oil after a cold snap, gradual, soothing the cracks. We spent Sundays sprawled on his futon in Lawrenceville, vinyl spinning Springsteen while he strummed covers of Thunder Road, voice gravelly and true. Nights tangled in sheets, his body mapping mine like a fretboard, every touch a chord resolving. He met Frankie over pierogies, charming the old man with tales of busking in Market Square. This one's a keeper, Frankie grunted approval, slapping my back. But ghosts don't fade easy. Eli's updates grew sporadic, Dad's drinking worse. Whispers at school turning to shoves again. Tommy's family had caught wind. Shipped the kid to boarding school in Philly. Feels like I'm drowning. Owen, Eli texted one midnight. Words slurring with tears. Why'd you leave? I didn't leave you, I replied. Heart fracturing anew. Saving up to get you out. Reese held me through the sobs that followed, whispering, "You're doing right by him." That's love. Yet doubt festered. A slow leak. Reese's band gigs pulled him into nights I spent alone, staring at the ceiling fan whirring like accusations. One evening, scrolling X, formerly Twitter, but who cared? I stumbled on a thread from Millersburg, Jake Harlan boasting about teaching that fag Hargrove a lesson, photos of a bonfire with my old sketchpad pages curling in flames. Eli's drawings, gone. Rage boiled, but Reese's arms around me that night cooled it. Don't go back there. Not yet. We're building something here. He was right. But the pull was magnetic. Iron to north. Then the call came, shattering the fragile peace. Frankie pounding on my door at 3 a.m. Face ashen. Eli. Hospital. Dad found him. Pills. From the farm cabinet. The world tilted. Colors bleeding to gray. I was on the road before dawn. Reese's truck loaned without question. His kiss lingering like fuel. Bring him home. Owen. To us. The drive to Ohio was a nightmare blur. Interstates unspooling like veins. Radio static hissing prayers. Millersburg loomed. Unchanged, silos sentinel. Fields whispering judgments. The hospital smelled of bleach and despair. Fluorescent buzz mocking the heart monitor's beep. Eli lay pale in the bed. 4 dripping salvation. Wrists bandaged like white flags. Dad slumped in the corner, unshaven and hollow-eyed. The Bible clutched like a shield. We argued. About you. Said he was like you. That it was in the blood. I told him to pray it out. But you told him he was broken, I whispered. Fury and sorrow colliding. Eli stirred. Eyes fluttering open, blue like mom's. Pleading. Owen. I took his hand. Cool and fragile. Right here. Not going anywhere. Dad rose. Chair scraping. This is on you. Coming out like that poisoned him. The room spun. But Reese's words anchored me. No. The poison's the hate you've swallowed. Eli's strong. We'll get through. He left without a word. Door clicking shut like finality. Nurses bustled. But it was Eli's whisper that gutted me. Don't hate me. For this. Never. Buddy. Love you too much. We talked till morphine pulled him under. Plans for Pittsburgh. Art schools. A life unchained. But dawn brought the social worker. Forms and questions about custody. Dad's instability. I signed what I could. Heart pounding, temporary guardian. Pending courts. Freedom's price. Tallied in ink. Back in the truck. Eli asleep beside me. Bundled in blankets. The highway east gleamed like redemption. Reese waited at the state line. Coffee steaming. Arms open. Family now, he said, kissing my temple as Eli mumbled hellos. But shadows lengthened. Dad's lawyer called days later. Farm in foreclosure. Debts Mom never mentioned. Eli's eyes lit at the news. We can start over. Yet in quiet moments, Reese's phone buzzed more. Gigs in Philly. Offers from labels sniffing talent. Tour soon, he said one night. Fingers tracing my collarbone. 3 months. You and Eli hold the fort. I nodded. But the bed felt colder after. Marco's echo lingered, strays he could fix. Was another? Tethering Reese to earth when he was born to soar? The fracture widened at Iron Vein's biggest show yet, filled house at Mr. Foss. Sweat and strobes pulsing like a heartbeat. Eli sketched from the wings. Proud grin as Reese dedicated Hometown Glory to the brothers who taught me home. Backstage high. Champagne fizzing. But Marco slunk in. All smiles and backslaps. Babe, he purred to Reese. Ignoring me. Missed this energy. Reese laughed it off. But the seed sprouted thorns. Weeks later. Tour prep ramped. Reese distant. Rehearsals till dawn. I covered shifts double. Eli thriving in art class but sensing the strain. You okay? He'd ask. Pencil pausing. Fine, I'd lie. Until the night I found the email, Reese's laptop open. Marco's pitch, solo deal. Baby. Ditch the garage band. Ditch the baggage. We could be us again. The words blurred with tears. Betrayal. Round 2, sharper. Because this time, it threatened the life we'd stitched from scraps. I packed quiet. Note on the pillow, fly free. Eli and I will too. But Reese came home early. Caught me at the door. Owen. Wait, that's not. Save it. The slam echoed my father's. Cycle unbroken. Eli waited in the hall. Bag slung. Eyes wide. We leaving? Yeah. Good. New start. Pittsburgh faded in the taillights. Bound for Philly, Tommy City. Art school's calling. Heartbroken. But not beaten. Love had cost everything twice. But in Eli's hands squeezing mine, I saw the spark. We'd rebuild. Not despite the losses, but because of them. Philly hit like a fresh spark plug, vibrant. A city of brotherly love that didn't ask for pedigrees. We rented a one-bedroom in Fishtown. Graffiti-splashed walls and fish markets wafting brine. Rent scraped from my mechanic gigs and Eli's after-school illustrations for a local zine. He bloomed here, sketchbooks filling with Philly skylines. Tommy reappearing via DMs tentative and sweet. Missed you at the fair, Eli read aloud one evening. Cheeks pink. Wanna draw the Liberty Bell together? Grinned. Stirring spaghetti on our hot plate. Tell him yes. And bring protection, not the sketch kind. He swatted me with a noodle. Laughter light as summer air. No more shadows in his eyes. Therapy sessions at a queer youth center had chased them. Words I'd wished for at his age. The wound scabbed, but ached in the rain. Reese's texts trickled. Apologies. Please, then dried up when I ghosted. Luca faded to a Facebook-like here and there. Betrayal's scar tissue toughened me. But loneliness was the real thief. Stealing sleep and stealing smiles. I'd walk the Delaware. Bridges strung with lights like fallen stars. Wondering if love was just a breakdown waiting to happen. Then came August. Sticky heat pressing cobblestones. And a job fair at the Navy Yard. Among the booths, welding, coding, stood a booth for Hargrove Heritage Auto, a vintage restoration shop in Manayunk. The owner, a silver fox named Harlan, irony's cruel joke. Scan my resume. Ohio boy. Millersburg, that Harlan country? My gut clenched. Yeah. Small world. He chuckled. No malice. Cousins? Probably. Jake's my nephew, troublemaker. Heard about the dust up. Kid's grown some sense since. You got skills, we need 'em. Start Monday. Fate's wink. We're trapped. Etiquette. Wrenching on 57 Bel Airs and 69 Camaros. Polishing chrome till it gleamed like absolution. Harlan was salt of the earth. Churchgoer but no firebrand, love thy neighbor. Fags included, he'd grunt over coffee. His stories of Jake's reform, community service, therapy eased the grudge, turning it to pity. Eli thrived, accepted to more college on partial scholarship. Dorms in fall. Tommy visited. All shy handholds and shared canvases. Their first kiss confessed over pizza, tasted like cherry chapstick and fireworks. I high-fived him. Chest swelling. My little brother. Out and unashamed. The protection I'd torched everything for. Realized. But Philly's pulse quickened mine too. At a gallery opening in Old City, Eli's first exhibit, sketches of Rust Belt boys finding light, I met Javier. He was the curator. Funny. Dominican roots in his warm brown skin and rolling R's. Suit sharp as his wit. Your brother's got fire, he said. Clinking glasses of cheap Merlot. Like his guardian angel here. Flushed. Deflecting. Just the muscle. Eli's the spark. We talked art and autos. His passion for street murals mirroring my love for resurrecting machines. Restoration's poetry, he mused. Eyes locking mine. Taking broken and making beautiful. By closing. Numbers exchanged. And dates followed. Cheesesteaks at Pat's. Strolls through Rittenhouse Square where dogwalkers and buskers blurred the lines. Javier was steady, weekends at his place in Queen Village. Cooking mango and teaching me bachata steps that left us breathless and tangled. No exes lurking. No ambitions pulling him away. He was rooted. A gallery rat dreaming of queer exhibits that told our stories unfiltered. Stay, he whispered one dawn. Fingers tracing my scars, the faint one on my temple from Dad's temper years back. Philly suits you? Owen. We suit. I wanted to believe it. Let the words balm the old hurts. Eli approved. He's fancy. But real, and even called Dad once. Speakerphone tense. We're good? Owen's my hero. Silence. Then a gruff. Miss you? Boy. Not forgiveness. But a crack in the wall. Yet high Treo brewed. Inevitable as a storm front. Fall leaves turned crimson when Jake Harlan appeared at the shop. Not with bats but a clipboard. Eyes downcast. Uncle said you're the guy. Community project, restoring the old mill museum. Need volunteers. For amends. I wiped my hands on a rag. Suspicion coiling. Amends for what? He shifted. Boots scuffing concrete. That night. The bats. I was scared. Stupid. Dad's dying, liver from the bottle. Made me think. About Eli. About you. Pity warred with pride. Eli's thriving. That's the win. He nodded. Handing a flyer. Proof it. Write him? Apologize proper? I let him. Because grace is the hardest gear to shift. Eli forgave cautious. Letters exchanged like olive branches. Progress. Fragile as spun glass. But glass shatters. December gale howled in. Snow blanketing the Schuylkill. When Reese blew back into town, like a bad penny or a ghost. Eli's exhibit got buzz. A write-up in the Inquirer. And there he was at the closing reception, leather jacket dusted white. Green eyes haunted. Saw the article. Had to see you. Javier tensed beside me, arm possessive on my waist. But I stepped away. Heart thudding. Tour go well. Golden. But hollow. He raked fingers through copper strands. Marco was a shark, deal soured. Left me dry. Realized what I lost. The real. Words like honey. But I tasted the sting. Took a village to raise me up. Can't tear it down for a solo. Till I hovered. Torn, grateful for the man who dedicated songs. Wary of the wound. Javier pulled me aside later. Voice low. He's your past. I'm your now. Choose. The ultimatum landed like frostbite. Choices crystallizing. That night, Reese waited on my stoop. Snow swirling. Come back to Pittsburgh. Eli too. We can. No. The word freed me. Cold air burning lungs. You flew. Remember? I grounded here. He left with a nod. Shoulders slumped. The door closing on us. Javier warmed the bed that night. But doubt lingered. Was I choosing safe? Or settling? Then the real tempest, Dad's call. Voice whiskey rough. Stroke. Hospital. Come if you want. Eli begged. Eyes pleading. Family. Owen. Broken. But ours. The drive to Millersburg was a time warp, fields barren. Farmhouse sagging under ice. Dad lay frail in the county clinic. Tubes snaking like accusations. Eyes sunken but sharp. Boys, he rasped. Hand trembling toward us. Eli took it first. Tears spilling. Missed you? Dad. I hung back. Walls up. Heard about the farm. Selling. He nodded weak. Foolish debts. But you. You're good. Words caught. Thorns in throat. Trying. Eli's art, Philly's got him shining. A ghost smile. Like his ma. Then. Softer. Sorry. Son. For the fire. Was scared. Of losing you to. That. Not lost, I said. Stepping closer. Just different. He squeezed my hand. Grip feeble but real. Love you. Both. Forgiveness flooded. Not full but enough, a dam breaking slow. We stayed till monitors flatlined at dawn. His last breath a rattle like gravel settling. The funeral was small. Cousins. Pastor Reynolds softer-edged. Eulogy on prodigal sons. Jake spoke. Voice cracking. Mr. Hargrove taught me mercy. Like he did his own. Eli sketched the headstone later, simple cross with wildflowers, tucking it in my glove box. He's at peace. Back in Philly. Javier waited. Arms open. But the high of healing crashed into low, gallery funding cut. Javier's job teetering. Tour with me, he proposed. Eyes alight. South America, mural collectives in Buenos Aires. 3 months. Eli's got dorms. In ward with roots. Eli urged. Go. Owen. But Marco's echo. Reese's flight. Love as leash or wings. I chose wings. Packing for Argentina. Javier's hand in mine. Eli's hug at the airport was fierce. Proud of you. Came out to protect me, now protect your heart. The plane lifted. Philly shrinking to lights below. A city that mended what Ohio broke. Betrayal's lessons scarred but schooled. Love wasn't loss. But layers, family blood and chosen. Past pains forging futures. In the clouds, Javier's head on my shoulder. I whispered to ghosts, we made it. Heart not whole, but healed enough to beat on. Buenos Aires embraced us like a tango, passionate, unpredictable. Streets pulsing with milongas and murals splashed across crumbling facades. Javier's contacts hooked us into a collective in La Boca. Vibrant shacks painted candy colors, where artists wielded spray cans like swords against forgetting. I played handyman, rigging scaffolds and sourcing paints, but the rhythm seeped in, evenings at confeterias, forks clinking over empanadas, Javier's laughter weaving through accordion wails. See, he'd say, pulling me to the floor, hips swaying syncopated. Life's a dance, mi amor. Step bold. 3 months stretched elastic. Eli's calls bridging oceans, dorm life wild. Tommy official. Finals aced. Dad would have been proud, he'd say. Voice steady. I mailed sketches of the Recoleta Cemetery. Angels guarding graves like silent sentinels. Whispering of our own losses mended. But distance amplifies cracks. Javier thrived in the chaos, networking with galeristas. Sketches for a queer exhibit on exiles and embraces. I tagged along. Wrench calloused hands out of place among silk scarves and wine flutes. Feeling the old imposter itch. You're my anchor, he'd assure. Kissing knuckles raw from hauling cans. Yet nights, he'd vanish into sketch frenzies, leaving me to wander San Telmo's markets alone. Mate gourd steaming in hand, bargaining for leather journals that echoed Eli's. One dusk, under jacaranda blooms shedding purple rain, doubt voiced itself. This your world, Beth? Tracing a mural of lovers entwined, faces defiant. He paused, charcoal smudged on his cheek. Ours. If you want. I did, fiercely, but the tether tugged, Philly's rent due. Harlan's shop needing my steady hand. Risa's silence was mercy. Luca a faded tattoo. Betrayals taught caution. But Javier was different, patient, present. So, when a Buenos Aires gallery offered him a solo show, permanent strings attached, the fork loomed. Stay, he urged over asado. Flames licking chorizo. Built here. Eli can visit summers. The vision tempted, sun-drenched studios. No Rust Belt winters. But Eli's face, braces off now. Grin wide in photos, anchored me. He's my compass. Pavi. Can't drift too far. Understanding flickered, shadowed by hurt. Then go. But come back. The goodbye at Ezeiza was salt-streaked. Tango one last time in the terminal. Bodies pressed. Hearts hammering. Te amo, he breathed. Boarding pass crumpled. I flew north. Pampas blurring to Appalachians. Landing in Philly's chill with a duffel of sketches and a hollow chest. Eli met me at baggage. Taller now. Arms wrapping bone-crushing. Missed you? Big bro. Tommy's interning, says hi. Over hoagies at John's roast pork. He spilled, Jake's letters steady. A cautious friendship blooming. Forgives himself. Me too. Harlan's shop welcomed back with backslaps. A 65 Mustang waiting like a challenge. Javier's text glowed. Show success. Invites to return. Your peace is in my heart, he'd write. Photos of walls bearing my doodles framed proud. Spring thawed the frost. Eli's graduation a riot of caps and gowns. Tommy's kiss sealing vows under oak trees. Dad's headstone visit followed. Wildflowers from Eli's bouquet pressed against granite. We did good. Pop, I murmured. Wind whispering a chord. Then, the call that appended, the voice frayed. Cancer. Liver. Marco's fault, pushed the party life. Someone. Pity surged. Tangled with old loves. Eli urged mercy. He hurt you. But healing's not hoarding pain. I drove to Pittsburgh. Bridges familiar as scars. Finding him gaunt in a hospice overlooking the point. Oh, he rasped. Green eyes dimmed. Knew you'd come. For the song we never finished. We talked hours, tours triumphant, solos sour, regrets like riffs unresolved. You were right, he admitted. I clipped my wings chasing sky. You grounded me best. No romance rekindled. Just closure's quiet chord. Write that song, I said, squeezing his hand. For the brothers, he did. Scribbled on napkins, outlaw hearts, verses of fire and forgiveness. Died a week later. Band playing it at the funeral, Eli there. Sketching the casket draped in rainbows. Javier flew in for pride. Philly streets a sea of flags and floats. We marched arm in arm. Eli and Tommy waving from a float. Confetti raining like blessings. That night, on my fire escape, new place in Passyunk, view of the skyline, Javier proposed not rings, but roots. 6 months Buenos, 6 Philly. Dance between. I pulled him close. City hum our heartbeat. Deal. But Eli's non-negotiable. Family first, he echoed. Lips sealing promise. Years folded like well-worn maps. Eli's wedding in Manayunk. Jake best man. Toasts to second chances. Harlan retired. Shop mine, Hargrove heritage full circle. Javier's exhibits bridged continents. Our home a gallery of exiles art, Eli's wildflowers. Risa's napkin lyrics framed. Luca's occasional postcard from Cleveland. Betrayals? First, not shackles, reminders that love's a rebuild. Part by part. The night I came out shotgun in hand, I lost a world but gained the stars, a brother unbroken, lovers who stayed, a life American as apple pie and backroads, flawed, just forever forward. In quiet moments, sketching by lamplight, I traced the line from Ohio fields to Argentine sun. One boy's bravery birthed a legacy of loves. Unashamed and unbound.